the pump I've been getting from my workouts lately has just been phenomenal. It's not a feeling that I really chase after too often when doing strength training, just because I'm not really too focused on that. But right now, with training arms, you really can't train them and get stronger without getting pump. You're going to gain muscle mass. You're going to gain a lot of blood into that muscle to really kind of fill it up. It's going to become engorged, and you're going to feel that feeling of being pumped. And man, the past couple weeks, every workout, I've just been getting a pretty significant pump in some portion of my body. Yesterday was my chest and my shoulders. I had a massive chest and shoulder pump. I had a back pump on Thursday. Another chest pump on Tuesday, and last Sunday a good, really good arm pump. And here I am today doing it again, having gone through and doing this whole workout. And it's a nice feeling. It's kind of an indication to yourself that what you're doing is doing something to the muscle. And it's at least working it. The only caveat to that is that sometimes it may not be the ideal way to move the muscle to accomplish your goal. But that's where your trial and error for determining whether or not it advances your strength in the way you wanted to see it, or your capabilities in the way that you want to see them develop come into play. And at least for me, with my current selection and how I'm responding to them, everything's going pretty well. It took about 3-4 weeks to really kind of get into the swing of it with a lot of these exercises. At least with my bicep and tricep day, I think this is the 5th week I've been doing this. And my body's pretty much adapted to it. I'm able to accommodate the load of everything that I'm doing. It does get tiring, on some exercises, which is to be expected. You want to be pushing to a point to where you're almost failing, but still able to do the workout, to be able to know that you're getting the maximum amount of work and like potential growth from that exercise as possible. And that's kind of what I did in the 4th set here, where I was doing 55 pounds for the 3rd and 4th, and it really started kind of taking a toll on me. I was feeling it in my triceps, because I was directly targeting the muscles, doing the skull crushers and the tricep presses here. Really trying to get as much stretch as I felt comfortable doing, and just really, really, really trying to just get the muscle going, and it was rather hard. You can see me kind of taking time to do a rest pause between these last couple of reps, and then going into the tricep press at the end, where it's a different movement that's not as controlled with the tricep, so to speak. It engages other things like the chest and everything, but it's still tiring, but just not as much as the skull crushers can be. Next, speaking of another tiring exercise, the barbell bicep curls, doing these with the varying stances, or grips rather, so the wide, medium, and then close grips. In the past, I believe my best I've gotten up to was 65 pounds. So we'll be butting up against that sometime soon. 60 pounds today was pretty difficult, so I'm probably going to do this again next week. Trying to do it for all 4 sets was one hell of an endeavor. But I was able to get through it. And man, I'm sorry, I'm just yawning so much right now that I'm having trouble being able to get all of this out. I was able to get through all of this. Just kind of struggled to do it, but I did it. I was able to finish all of the sets. I didn't have to set the weight down or stop like I had in weeks previous with lighter weights. So I'm definitely getting some development of strength, and I'm getting better, um, activation to my muscles to know exactly how I need to move to accomplish these movements. There was a little bit of cheating in the reps in the fourth set, which is another reason why I'm not too happy with it, and I'm fine with redoing this weight next week with all 4 sets at 60, just to be able to force a little bit more familiarity with it, to be able to kind of keep developing further. There are times, though, where I might struggle a little bit to where I kind of be on the fence with, do I go up, do I not? And I choose to go up to force myself to struggle, to really make my body go, okay, so that weight we were doing before isn't the end all be all. There's definitely more to it that we could be doing. So it's going to have to adapt to be able to develop more strength to accommodate that. And that sort of mentality comes into play later in this workout. Going through and doing the tricep circuit that I have set up is always difficult. It's something to where it's become much more doable now because I'm gaining strength in my triceps. And doing it at 17.5 pounds is something that I can accomplish pretty easily. Not to say that it's something that I'm going to be able to do all 4 sets with, minimal effort. There's going to be some effort involved, but it's not to the point where I'm like failing reps and struggling to push through it anymore. I'm just not at that point with that weight anymore. So after the 3rd set, and kind of after last week, I was debating whether or not I wanted to try increasing weight or not. And so I approached adding in, or adding more weight, going to 20 pounds from 17.5. And I struggled, much like I'm struggling right now at this point with these barbell curls at the end. And I remember going through and doing this, just kind of focusing on doing 1 rep, okay, 2, now 3, okay, now stop, focus, get the 4th, okay, get the 5th, and just taking time to be able to just kind of crank them out and trying to avoid getting into a position to where I'm slowing down too much, because sometimes, with a lot of these exercises, if you lose momentum, it's just kind of the death knell for being able to keep up with these. And that's something that, I really focused on with this too, be able to try to keep going at a consistent pace. And so I was just trying to find the right pace where I wouldn't exhaust myself too early. Trying to figure out my rest times. I did a minute and a half. I'm sorry, not a minute and a half. I did 2 minutes of rest between, I believe every single set here, just to be able to have enough time to recover, because it's not, the heaviest exercise in the world, but it's pretty involved with all of the muscles involved in it. And I didn't want to wear myself out too early with it. Outside of that, going through and doing the presses, or not the presses, but the pronated and supinated extensions. The rope extensions weren't too bad. And actually looking at it, okay, so the first couple reps I was cheating a little bit. I wasn't going all the way down. It gets a little bit better later on in the set. And okay, now I'm fine towards the end. Not too thrilled, at least seeing that I wasn't getting the full breadth of the movement in the beginning of the extensions, but sometimes it just happens. But Jesus, sorry, the yawning. I just kind of kept at it, and I think the consistency of doing this is definitely helping too. The familiarity with this movement is very strong. Really don't have a ton of trouble going through and just kind of doing them. I'm definitely feeling consistently stronger in my arms every single week because of doing this. And I think it's working out really well, just having one very large day working on biceps and triceps. You don't want to overload the muscles too much, because you develop tendinitis or additional like wear or strain on the muscles from doing that. They're not super big muscle groups that can accommodate load by going to the smaller ones. They are the small muscle group. and they really can't take a repetitive strain in the way that like your legs or your chest or your back can. And even then, your chest is still kind of limited in what it can take in comparison to the others. Like your legs can take a beating every single day. Your back can more or less take a beating every single day. Your chest, maybe maybe 4 times a week, depending on what kind of strength and familiarity you have with the movement you're working on. But your arms, you can get one solid workout. You might be able to get like one minor one every single week, which is kind of what I do. I do this big bicep and tricep workout, and then I do 2 tricep exercises, 4 days later. And even then, I can still feel some exhaustion of my triceps even 4 days after this workout, just because of how taxing it can be on the muscle. It does get better, and that's not to say that like some of the chest exercises I do don't engage triceps, because they definitely do. Just not enough to a degree by itself to really constitute enough work to really focus on them specifically. I just blanked. I forget exactly where I was trying to go with this. You want to be able to manage load effectively and appropriately to be able to grow. And that again ties into what I was saying earlier with getting to a point to where you've got comfort in the movement, and you might be feeling a little wobbly but still sure that you can finish it. Push a little bit and make yourself fail or get as close to failure as possible, and you'll see me start to get there with this exercise, with 20 pounds on this right here. And some of that could be attributed to the weight not rolling as it does with my loadable handles, and others can just be the heavier weight. A 2.5 pound jump off of 17.5 pounds is a pretty significant percentage of the weight. It's well over like 11% of an increase. And I've spoken before that with a lot of these smaller these movements, you want to focus on much smaller weight jumps, ideally within around like 5%. And I'm doing double that right now to be able to just kind of like maintain that, or to grow. And it's something that takes time to adapt to. These are not clean reps by any means, but I'm doing them. And I'm getting familiarity with that weight to be able to go through and do it. Especially in this last set, doing 50 pounds right here. This was killer for me. I was struggling to finish this. And you can see me just trying to put as much explosive power and force into this, to be able to try to control this weight and do it in a way that's going to work my arms as best as possible, trying to avoid letting that weight touch the ground so I don't break tension in the exercise, and then finally finishing it out. That was a very grueling set. I think that was the longest portion of the workout overall. Not just because of the, it's a superset of 3 different exercises, but just the difficulty of it always takes me a little bit of time to kind of really work my way through. And just really kind of get at it. Outside it, moving on from that though, going into hammer curls, nothing too crazy. 25 pounds of the fat grips. This wasn't too difficult for the first 2 sets, and then I bumped the weight up to 27.5 pounds. And it did get a bit more difficult, just because you're forcing in your forearms to work with your biceps and your triceps to be able to do this exercise, and it just adds that extra component to it that you need to have just that little bit more energy to get through it. And 25 pounds pretty manageable. 27.5 definitely manageable, but definitely bit more difficult than 25 pounds. Still a jump of about 10%, with going up at from 25 to 27.5. So it still is somewhat significant of an increase there. And it takes time to adapt, but I'd rather go up that much than going up to 30 from this, because I doubt I would be able to get through it. Um, I just want to get stronger a little bit at a time and manage the load appropriately to do that. I don't want to overload myself and hit a wall and get demotivated because of that. Incremental progress with this is really important, because it takes a lot of time to develop strength in these smaller muscle groups. It is a very rewarding process, but it can be a bit more grueling than trying to add weight on to my squat or my deadlift, which just seems to happen. Whereas this takes a lot of concerted effort to be able to really build up just a little bit of advancement in strength and in the exercise. So here's where I've bumped up to 27.5 pounds. You can see already there's more work involved with this. I'm doing everything I can to try to avoid cheating the weight, and just fully engage the bicep in this to just promote as much growth to it as possible. And it was hard. It was definitely hard. I'm happy for that. Again, just because I'm trying to push myself to get stronger, and I can't do that with complacency. You will not develop beyond that point, and just doing the same thing over and over and over again. Actually, sorry, I'm mistaken. It was just one set of 27.5 pounds. It was 3 sets at 25. Going through here at the end, again, doing these preacher curls with the attachment on the machine, I can get a bit more stretch out of the bottom. But the trade-off is that I'm no longer using a lot of the stabilization muscles in my arms and my shoulders to do these curls. So I'm just getting pure strength in the biceps from doing these. One thing I did do kind of going forward was I put my my legs to a point to where that bottom roller would touch my legs, but it wouldn't allow the actual implement to make contact and lose tension with the bench. I was just looking for the that roller to basically touch the hair of my legs to tell me, okay, this set is done, or that rep, not this set, but that rep is done. And it worked fairly well. It was a pretty good indicator, something I need to get used to doing, just because at times I wasn't sure if it was actually doing it or not, or if I just let it touch my shin, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if it goes all the way and stops dead, then I'm losing tension in the weight. At least looking at this in my arms, I am getting quite a bit more extension into the negative of the concentration curl. So that is good. It's a good sign that I'm getting the full range of motion with it, because that gives me more strength further in the movement to promote healthier muscles, and I'm able to kind of have a bit more strength in a disadvantaged position to avoid any sort of injury going forward. So just going to have to keep working at these. I'm happy to really see the weight progressing in a lot of these exercises, and just keep pushing and getting stronger, and pushing the weight further and further each time.